Good morning. My name is Quinshawn Norwood, and today I'll be giving you a look at somebody's life that has bounced back. But before I start my speech, I would like to acknowledge and thank President Clark, Ms. Page, and Ms. Page's speech communication class for giving me this opportunity. I was very timid and nervous about this opportunity because I will be opening up and sharing my life story to motivate somebody else. And I was nervous because many kids would think, why should I listen to somebody the same age as me? Or why would I listen to a kid from Columbia that looks like his life has always been great? But I am glad I accepted this opportunity. And by the way, you all look very pleasant today. And I thank you for being my audience. And hopefully I can motivate somebody in the audience today to bounce back and always keep faith. Growing up as a young child in Atlanta, Georgia, I got everything I wanted just about, and life was amazing in my eyes. One of my favorite toys was my trampoline. One thing I liked it about it most was that no matter how low or high I jumped or where I landed, I would always bounce back up. Even though my younger years were great, that would abruptly come to a change around the time when I was 8 years old. As a child, I always lived with my grandparents, and I was particularly close to my grandmother because my grandfather was always away driving trucks. Every second of the day, I would always be under my grandmother, until one morning I woke up, and sadly she didn't. This was the first step of me being on my trampoline. I was in the air, and I was reaching my peak, and now I was beginning to fall. Within months, I had stopped talking. I had stopped being who I originally was. Life was somehow different now. Within months of my grandmother dying, while I was in Atlanta, my father died in the same house as me. And after losing my grandmother, this was a very sudden shock to me. I was lost. I was in a world faced with confusion, depression, and I was reaching my low point. This was the second point or step on my trampoline. I was still falling and halfway down. I was bracing myself for the fall because sooner or later I was about to hit rock bottom. I went months with people trying to help me out of my depression. At that age, I wasn't trying to listen to anybody. I didn't know what was going on, and I was confused, and I didn't want to be misled and hurt because I was losing everybody that was around me. After a while, my mom stepped in, and me and her developed a brand new relationship that I had always wanted as a younger child. I was in the 7th grade, and by this point, I was finally beginning to gain my happiness back. My mom and I had gained a relationship I always wanted. I was going to be moving in with her, and soon we would all have the family that I always wanted. Time had passed, and my mom had gotten in the house. I had my own room, and my sister did too. I couldn't be any happier. I finished the first half of the semester in 8th grade, and I was getting ready to move in with my mom the next day, right before spring break. We had previous conversations about it, about how we would have family dinners, we could decorate the room together, and we would finally get to spend family time together during the holidays, like Christmas and Thanksgiving. And then boom, all of a sudden, I had hit rock bottom. I had faced the last and final step of my trampoline. I had jumped, I had reached my peak, I was falling and bracing myself for the fall. And then now, I had hit the canvas. My mom had passed away. She was killed the night before that we were supposed to move in with her. It had crushed me and I was lost all over again. It was a nightmare all over again. The same way I felt when I lost my grandmother, the same way I felt when I lost my father. But on the bright side, this was just the start of my bouncing back. I knew of no one with a story like mine. I didn't allow myself to fall into that depression again. The same depression that I faced when my grandmother passed, the same depression that my father has, and the same depression that many students face when life doesn't go their way. Just like when you're on a trampoline And when you hit the tarp and bounce back up, I was going to bounce back up from whatever occurred in my life. I was going to use this as my motivation. After going through my mother's death, I was determined to do everything I had to do to make her proud, my father proud, and my grandmother proud. After, After every challenge I had in high school, I kept them on my mind. After every mistake, every failed test, every wrong decision, and everything that tried to hinder me, I was going to bounce back. Not for me or the goals I had in mind, but for my family. People in this generation tend to isolate themselves and separate themselves when they are in the wake of chaos and trials and tribulations. But today I tell you that you are to bounce back. If I can do it, you can do it too. I can tell you that you can bounce back from anything that you have faced, from making the wrong decision, from failing a test in school, from falling out from a friendship. You can bounce back from anything. Me bouncing back led to me being successful in many different ways. It led to me being the top in my class in my senior year. It led to me gaining my scholarship, and it led to me furthering my career and coming to the great institution of South Carolina State University. If I can bounce back, I want to tell you today that you can do it too. Life is simply like jumping on a trampoline. You have ups and downs, but just remember, when you come down, you don't stay down. You always bounce back up. I would like to thank you for being my audience today. And once again, I would like to thank Ms. Page, President Clark, and Ms. Page's speech communication class for giving me this opportunity to share my story with you and hopefully motivate you to always bounce back. And I just want you all to remember, no matter the trials or tribulations you face, that you can bounce back. Thank you.